the track at the World. We are tied.
Look at this. He's scored. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Armstrong with a big leg. Over for the cover. He got it. Unbelievable.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. Austin, he got it. The starter. Mike Tyson in. Austin is the champion. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch a ball, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Oh my God, no! Mankind did it! Nick Foley did it! No, Stone Cold did it! Mankind has achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it! No, you can't do it! You can't do it! No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
That's our connection. Welcome to WWE WAR, where we honor all the legends, current and past. Wrestling Above Replacement, simulcast show here on North-South Connection, both audio feed, available on all audio applications, Apple Podcasts and beyond, and our YouTube channel, North-South Connection. Search on YouTube. We have tons of great video content, audio content. Shaking some stuff up here as we get into May, so be sure to keep an eye on things. Subscribe, share the love. We appreciate all the feedback at all times. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all podcatcher apps. Marcus, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited as we draw this season to a close. It's been a really good one. I feel like we've been spoiled a little bit, but we'll see what the end of the year has, or the end of the season, has for us.
Yeah, we 2 episodes left already. It's crazy. So tonight we're going to tackle Royal Rumble 2006 and No Way Out 2006. And then in our next episode, we will wrap the season with WrestleMania 22 and our year-end awards. If you're new here, welcome aboard. We are looking at every pay-per-view ever in WWE history. We're doing it in a seasonal format. That means we start with the first pay-per-view following WrestleMania in any given calendar year. We wrap up the WrestleMania the following year. So this season started with Backlash 2005. We're going to end at WrestleMania 22. We watch every match, watch every show. Marcus grades every match. I grade every match. We take the average. And then we also do a plus-minus system across a series of categories. We kind of tabulate all that up, and that gives each pay-per-view a final war score. When I say plus-minus, I mean we look at everything based on a replacement level concept. So what's an average match, average atmosphere, average commentary, average build? If we feel like something is better than that, we go +1. If we feel like something is worse than that, we go -1. We also do +2, -2 if it's really good or really bad, and then +3, -3 if it's like all-time bad or all-time awesome. 3 is the max we give. Marcus, you want to quickly run down the categories in which we grade these shows?
Absolutely. We start off with build, followed by commentary, atmosphere, notable moments and importance, our match grades, card structure, rewatchability, and all-time matches. And for an all-time match to qualify as such, is something we both agree is 4.25 for it to be a plus, and for it to be a minus, it is something we both agree is 0.75 and below.
Yes, sir. All right. And then for all the matches, I take my grade, take your grade. We average that out. And then again, we do a plus-minus number 2.5 to give the WAR score for each match. We'll get a 2.5 as kind of an average match. So, all right. Why don't we dive into our first show here tonight? Royal Rumble 2006, January 29th from Miami, Florida, the American Airlines Arena. We have all the luminaries in the booth, Joey Styles and Jerry Lawler from Raw, Michael Cole and Taz on SmackDown. We have one dark match, or I guess on Heat, as Finlay defeats Brian Kendrick. And then that brings us to our opening match, which is a Cruiserweight Open for the Cruiserweight title. Our champion, Kid Cash, comes in with the belt, but does not retain, as Gregory Helms, the repackaged Hurricane, wins the Cruiserweight title, defeats Kid Cash, Funaki, Jamie Noble, Nunzio, and Paul London. And Marcus, last time we saw Mr. Helms, he was taking unceremonial loss to Jerry the King Lawler in New Year's Revolution. But he bounces back here, wins the Cruiserweight title. I went 2 3/4. I think it was fine. It's one of those. This era of Cruiserweights is very weird because they have a lot of talent, and they give them the time and the focus on SmackDown, but it is way more ground focused than I think the Cruiserweight action we were used to during this era. And I think that really kind of pulls some of these matches down when they're not busting out a lot of the high flying stuff that folks want to see.
Yeah, even this one got cooking a little bit. They went waterfall style towards the end with like some strikes, and like those got a good pop from the crowd. I went 3. This is all pretty good stuff. And then shout out our buddy, not the tool man, Tim. I remember watching the show with him, and before the show started, we're doing our picks, and he wrote in that Gregory Helms was going to enter the Invitational and end up winning the thing. So he saw that one coming a mile away. Our next match is a Divas match, as it is Ashley Massaro taking on Mickie James with special referee, our women's champion, Trish Stratus. I went 1.5. I would just say Mickie probably just saved this from being in the negative all-timer territory. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about this one.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I went 1.5 on it as well. And yeah, I mean, the whole story here is around Mickie and Trish, right? That's what it's about. We're escalating Mickie's obsession with Trish. Trish is refereeing here. Ashley, God rest her soul. Like, she tried. She really put the energy in output, but it was just, we're in the era where they're throwing some of these girls to the wolves in the ring. We'll see, another one later this calendar year, and Kelly, young, untrained, thrown on national TV and expected to wrestle and put these matches together on, pay-per-views, given 8 minutes, no clue what they're doing. So I don't ever like hold it against any of them. They were just never set up for success at this time period. They start to get better with it as we move along, but there's a period here where it's just really, it wasn't fair to a lot of these girls that they would just throw in the ring and expect them to go out there and work matches. So it was one thing when they were doing bra and panties and everything else. At least it's like, all right, well, you can roll around and strip down, but like to actually say, no, go out there and work a match for 8 minutes. As talented as Mickie is, it's still asking a lot to like put Ashley in a position like that. So again, not her fault, but the match is not great. Up next, we have the Boogie. Speaking of not great, the Boogeyman taking on JBL. I went 1 1/4 on this. I don't mind the Boogeyman act, but and at times he is presented as strong in the ring, but this is so much theatrics. I'm not going to complain too much about JBL kind of getting worked over because he never really had that fall from grace after losing the world title. He's been up there in the picture for most of the year still. But it's weird when our last pay-per-view is destroying Matt Hardy, right? And then he comes in here and just gets beaten in a minute by Boogeyman. And the worm stuff's always gross. The only positive in this whole thing is that he bites the stupid mole off Jillian's face. So get rid of that stupid thing. But It's more of a segment than a match.
He bit the mole. It's got to be juicy, Cole. I went 2.5. It wasn't long enough to be bad for me. And I'm pretty entertained by Boogeyman. So shout out my buddy Ed, the world's biggest Boogeyman fan. But yeah, this is fine. It was entertaining. Next up, we have in the middle of the card, we have our Royal Rumble match. Typical 30-man. It was won by Rey Mysterio, last eliminating Randy Orton. I went 3.75. And I would say that's probably a knockdown from where I usually would have this, just like ranked cold off the top of my head. I always think I like this one. And then once I watch it, I'm like, I didn't like it as much as I thought. So yeah, probably next time I rewatch it, I'd probably knock it down a little bit more. Yeah, not great stuff. Triple H was great actually in this. I thought Orton was great in this when he came in. But it's just the main piece is Ray, and yeah, I don't know if he was too heavy, if he was banged up, if he was sick, whatever the case, not his best night, which ends up being his biggest night to date.
Yeah. This is a lower end of my, so I went 3.5, which to me is like a bad Rumble. I baseline here. Like to me, it's, you have to do real bad Rumble to get like below a 3.5 because it's still a Rumble and it's still fun stuff. But this is not a good one by any means. Triple H is a highlight, just like he's been for most of the season, surprisingly enough. Orton is good in it as well. But Ray is, I think he's one of the worst winners in Rumble history. Like if we're kind of doing any kind of tier or stack ranking, lays around the whole match. Doesn't do much at all until the end. And I don't think he's presented as strong in any way. And that's going to be a theme, as we'll see. We'll see part of it. We're not going to see the whole end of his title reign that comes up. But he not presented strong in winning here. The whole thing is about Eddie. I've always hated the Eddie obsessed storyline that they go into with this. Oh, Eddie playing jokes on me. It gave me number one or whatever. Well, it's like, it's too much. It's just way too much. They make him just, I don't want to say pathetic because he's honoring his friend, but it's just like way too.
It's heavy-handed
and ham-fisted, and it's just it hangs in the air over everything. Again, there are highlights in this. Matt Hardy gets his comeuppance for Dodge and Undertaker, and he gets raped by Viscera in the ring. So that's part of his punishment there. You get to Tonka, the big return at Tatanka, right? So that was kind of cool. Honestly, at the end, it felt more like Hunter probably deserved the win over Ray, the way they book it, which is not the way you want to look at this.
Yeah, I think this either should have went to Triple H or should have went to Orton, and you work the story backwards and you have Ray actually trying to fight his way into the title match at WrestleMania. I think that is a much more compelling story than the moment here of Ray winning and then, trying to put it up against Orton and getting baited into defending it, as we'll get to on our next show.
I'll never get why. Right. Why not do it that way? Just have Orton win and screw him here instead of screwing him at No Way Out. Because then we'll talk about it later in the show, but the way they get out of No Way Out is so stupid where Teddy's just like, yeah, I feel bad. You're back of the mat. Like the whole thing is dumb. So it's like, yeah, they could have been way better ways to go about it. The other miss to me is Batista gets hurt and vacates the title. And they do a battle royal on SmackDown where Angle wins the belt like 2 weeks before the show. Why not just put the title on the line at the Rumble? Like, then you can really give it to Orton or Angle in the Rumble match. And now you're really doing something different and making this match have a little extra juice. And then I think you can still get to what they want to get to at the end of the night by having that happen as part of the Rumble match. And then the whole thing cooks better. So that was a miss. You got Cole and Cole and Lawler doing the Rumble, I think, right? Or all four do it. I forget. May all four do it.
I think it's Cole and Lawler.
It is, it's Cole and Lawler, which is bad. 04 they had it the best when they did JR and Taz was good. Yeah. But they've done Cole and Lawler the last two, and I think it's like the lesser of the choices, like Joey and Taz, or just do all four again. So yeah, just it's a whiff. It's a whiff of a Rumble for sure. It's one I hate watching. I just don't find too much enjoyment in it. And then to me, this is where the card completely goes off the rails. So I went 3.5 on that. We got our WWE Championship match. John Cena defeats Edge. I went 3.25 here. Match is fine, but it was again like Edge had just won the belt at New Year's Revolution. Ratings went up. Excitement was up. But the plan was Cena Triple H for Mania, right? So Edge kind of gets hosed. As we'll see, he ends up doing okay for himself at Mania. But in the moment here, it felt like, all right, Edge, all the talk in the build was, I'm not going to be a transitional champion. I'm going to have a run. And then he loses the belt. And then the fact that the Rumble is in the middle of the card, which to me it should never be, unless in the modern era where there's multiple Rumbles, fine. But to me, if you want to have one big main event after the Rumble, like there are in some years where it's like Shawn and Taker or whatever, fine. But to do a mid-card Rumble and then follow it John Cena beating Edge in a whatever match, and then follow that with what we have to close the night, the card structure to me, I've hated since this show first aired. Like, I could not stand it. You get Cena in the spaceship, that's kind of cool, but like beyond that, it's just a basic mid-match.
Yeah, I'm with you. 3.25. It's like they didn't finish the job of completely going backwards at Taboo Tuesday. And they need to like completely finish it. And oh, cool, something interesting happened with Edge. Oh, we're popping big ratings. Oh, it's exciting. Oh, Cena has a natural foil. Yeah, let's kill it. Yeah. It sucked, man. It sucked. The decision sucked. The match is fine. And then that leads us to our formal main event, which is for the world title. Our new champion, Kurt Angle, taking on Mark Henry. You had mentioned Batista gotten hurt, vacated the title. It goes up in the Battle Royal, and Kurt Angle makes a surprise brand switch over to SmackDown and wins a Battle Royal. And at least here, it's like, okay, here we actually go with the wrestling machine, Kurt Angle.
So it's a great change for Angle. Like, that works. I just think it could have really added juice to the pay-per-view instead of a throwaway Battle Royal on SmackDown. But yeah, Angle, the character, needed this reboot. After we talked about how much we hated the, I could say anything and they still love me and all the racist, like all that stuff is so stupid. This was like a hard, just pissing that character off away and then rebooting it to, Marauder Kurt Angle. So
this one, I went 2 3/4.
I went 2.5. I mean, I like Henry. He's just not much of a compelling challenger at this time. I know they use it because he's the one that injured Batista, so they make it like he's in line for the title shot. Fine, but the whole reason this closes the show is because at the end of the match, Undertaker makes his return since Armageddon, and they shake the ring, and Angle stands there, so no way out. So it's like we're closing the show with Kurt Angle and Mark Henry, which fine. Again, like both guys are great. But it's not exactly the most compelling match on this card, especially at the Royal Rumble. You want to see the Rumble end the show. And they have a winner that people want to see in Rey Mysterio. Like, it's not like some heel stole the Rumble and people are going to be pissed. Like, everyone's rooting for Rey. So why not close the show with that? Do Taker coming back in the Rumble, or do Angle Henry in the middle? Taker returns, they shake the ring. Then they can reset the ring while they're doing the stupid spaceship or do something backstage, more number pulling segments and get the ring fixed or whatever they need to do. So to end the night, just to do a Taker stunt show with, a very milquetoast world title match, I had no question that Angle is going to retain. Like, Henry's just not going to win and head to Mania as champion. It's just not going to happen. So, and it's a 9-minute title match with no heat. So to me, like, it's just a bad decision all around. And this ends the show on a whatever note.
And especially with what the No Way Out match ends up being between Angle and Taker, which, spoiler alert, like, it's very almost like real sports feel. Like, why not just do a stare off and Taker does the throat slash and Angle perks up and you get a pull apart? Like, the refs come out to separate it before it gets physical and builds tension to No Way Out.
We didn't need the ring shaking. Or just do a lightning bolt, whatever. You don't need the whole ring falling apart. Like, do it on SmackDown the next week or whatever. Like,
that's true, yeah.
To structure the whole show this way just for that stunt was stupid. When you had two better choices to close the show, in the Rumble and Cena Edge, which was a way more anticipated match.
And we had just had an Undertaker come back at Survivor Series.
We've had a million. He's been back and forth like 5 times in this season alone. Like, he left after Mania, right, for a little bit, and then he came back. So I know Orton was out, but didn't he leave too? I think Taker left too for a bit. Then he leaves again after No Mercy. He left again after Survivor, like again after Armageddon. There's like 3 times he like leaves and comes back. We don't need a stunt show every time. Yeah, just not. They ruined the whole structure and the flow of the shard for this stupidity. So
yeah.
All right, very low in-ring card. So 1.25 WAR score for matches for our average. So that's not great. It's on the very low end of what where we usually land. All right, let's get to the categories for build. We did give a point for Angle winning the world title on SmackDown, because he dropped the heel gimmick, resets. It's a big moment. It's a cool moment. And I think if it's any time other than 2 weeks before Royal Rumble, I would have been fine with it. But again, they had this on a platter in front of them that they could have went with. A point for Edge just being unhinged completely as world champion. They do the live sex celebration. He's got the TLC match with Flair. He's a ratings draw. Just 3-week madman reign as world champion. Trish and Mickey, the angle's ongoing. They're building to Mania slowly. A point for the Boogeyman stalking JBL. And like we said, he rips off Jillian's mole and eats it. A point for Vince wanting revenge on Shawn Michaels after he talked shit about Montreal Screwjob. We didn't really get into that. It's a big part of the Rumble as well. With the last draw of the year, Vince comes out and he said it's time to celebrate, the anniversary or whatever of screwing Bret Hart in Montreal. We're going to be doing a DVD, so we're going to take a shit on Bret. Here's my partner in crime, Shawn Michaels. We talked about it a little bit in New Year's Revolution, but he wants his revenge. Shawn pissed him off. So in the Rumble, I think Shane comes out. Does the Spirit Squad come out too here? I think they do, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
So we get that. Kerwin White vanishes. Chavo's back, so a point for that, even though it's still Chavo. A point for Cena chasing Edge for the title, and then a point for Mark Henry, gets the title shot. He hooks up with Daivari to go against Angle, who is Daivari's former charge. He injured Batista. So again, the idea of it is fine. There's a build, there's a story, it's logical. It's just the structure is what lets them down. So it's a pretty well-built show overall.
Yeah, the minus reflects that as well. We've got a couple here. Batista gets hurt and forfeits the world title. Weird decision to not put the world title on the line in the Royal Rumble match, like you had said. No build to the Cruiserweight Scramble. Just kind of announced it. Mysterio's entire run and gimmick now revolves around Eddie, constantly playing up the Edge isn't a transitional champion. And then he ends up being exactly that. Something that works best, if he's going to win and not just be a 3-week champion.
Right. Why call attention to it? I'm not going to be the transitional champion and then loses. I guess in theory, he's not a transitional champion because that's usually if another guy wins the belt.
True.
Like Stan Stasiak is a real transitional champion, but or Yokozuna like at 9. Like that's a transitional champion. Edge winning it. He's more of a Ronnie Garvin situation, but
yeah.
So that's a 3 for build. So fine. Commentary, a point for Cole doing a pretty good job explaining why Helms could be in the SmackDown title match because Teddy Long opened it up for all former champions, so he's eligible. Taz trolling JBL, Jillian, a boogeyman, says she pulled the worms out of her bra, and he says he sucked the juice out of the mole. So Taz is always epic during this run, and we're really hitting the peak because he's almost out on SmackDown soon. He'll get a few more months of it, but he's just unhinged as well.
You dropped the worm right in her mouth. For our minuses, we got Cole and King. They're the worst possible choice to call the Rumble. Commentary constantly focusing on Eddie. Gets grating. And then SmackDown guy going against SmackDown guy. They kind of really hammer home
the brand shit.
The brand, inner brand and stuff
it's
like that.
It's raw violence. It's just like whatever. We don't need to keep being reminded constantly. Like these guys they fight each other all the time anyway. Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah.
All right, so -1 for commentary. Atmosphere, we gave a point for the really cool Roman Coliseum setup. That they leaned on that and the build leading up to it. A point for the massive pop for Triple H coming in at number 1. It's like huge. A point for the real hot crowd when Ray comes out. A point for the pop for Flair. A point for the pop for Benoit. Both are huge. A point for the pop for Tatanka. They do the tomahawk chop. A really fun atmosphere for him coming back. Pop for RVD. He gets a massive reaction as he hits the ring. This is a return, right? From injury, that long injury. So a really big reaction for him coming back as he had missed One Night Stand. I mean, he had been out for 13 months pretty much. A point for the loud Eddie chants all night. It's fine when it's a fan tribute, not when it's being hammered into your face by everything else. A point for the pop for Shawn. A point for the pop for Ray when he eliminates Hunter at the end. A point for the Cena spaceship entrance. a point for Edge and Lita. They look and feel like a top act, and then a point for the big pop for Taker when he destroys the ring. So, I mean, it's a really kind of underrated hot crowd. Like they're into a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, it felt like I think the '05 Rumble that one's in San Diego. I'm trying to think. One of those Rumbles, I felt like, oh, they're definitely trying to campaign to like get a Mania here. I can't remember which one. Anyways, we got the stupid Roman McMahon stuff with all four McMahons. It's not needed. They get annoying puppy chants right away during the women's match. We're going backwards there. The crowd wants nothing to do with the Spirit Squad. Complete silence for OJ. R.I.P. Different OJ.
that runs about done.
Usual mixed reaction for our top guy, John Cena. The crowd being pretty dead for Henry and Angle by the end of the night. It's a foregone conclusion. It's a weak closer, and it's definitely like an Angle alert. You definitely know something's going to happen. You're just kind of waiting for the match to finish.
Yeah, well, like we said, it's a hot crowd, the +7 on atmosphere, so they're into a lot of stuff. The stupid McMahon's thing, it's like, I know whenever ratings are down, they go back to the McMahons. Vince and Shane's fine, but like Linda being in the mix after that terrible stunner at the homecoming, that should have been it for her. Like doing the Roman, I know they're trying to do the Julius Caesar, like backstabbing McMahon's gimmick or whatever, but it's just like, I don't know. It just felt like a show where the priorities were all out of whack. Like Roman Coliseum kind of doesn't make sense. I guess it's royal, but then you got like the cover of the DVDs, the McMahons, Triple H is super over. But it sort of like takes away from Ray. We end the match with a stupid match, end the show with a stupid match. Like everything feels out of whack. All right, notable moments. We give a point for Helms winning the Cruiserweight title, a point for Mickie James professing her love to Trish, officially says, I love you. A point for Boogeyman's pay-per-view in-ring debut. A point for the Spirit Squad debut, like we mentioned. A point for Ray winning the Rumble. A point for Lashley shining. He beat the Hosses and got the crowd going. Kind of a big step in his evolution. A point for Tatanka, makes his pay-per-view and WWE return, first pay-per-view since 1996. A point for Rob Van Dam's return from injury. A point for the return of Goldust, is also in the Rumble. It's his first pay-per-view since 2003. A point for the McMahons costing Shawn, continuing the build to Mania. A point for Cena winning the WWE title, and a point for The Undertaker's return. So, again, it's a show where a lot happened. They had a lot go down in this Rumble.
Yeah, let's check out the minuses. We got the Cruiserweight Open ending just as it's really starting to heat up. Either they need a little bit more time or just do Helms. I think
you're on structure. You're on structure.
Excuse me. I sure am. Excuse me. All right, let's rewind that. For notable moments and importance, Edge's title run ends too early. Taps clean despite the high ratings and interest because Cena is set for WrestleMania no matter what. We went -2 for that one. Ray getting outworked and outpopped by Triple H. That's bad as well, and that's consistently for the whole match. He wins the mid-card Rumble while really doing a whole lot of nothing. We get, as you mentioned, Matt Hardy gets his comeuppance for dodging out on Mr. Taker back at Survivor Series. He gets Vis humped. He gets tossed out of the ring. And that was it for our notable moments of importance.
It's bad. I mean, like, we know he got beat down at Armageddon by JBL as part of his punishment for his malfeasance to Survivor Series, dodging Undertaker. And then here, Vis just makes him a bitch. I mean, he throws him on the ground, bangs him in the ass. He throws him out. And he's just a jobber cuck boy. Like, he never got his comeuppance on Edge. Like, yeah, they brought him back. They gave him his one big moment at Unforgiven. And he's just like a clown ever since otherwise.
He couldn't even get like the tag match win back at like Taboo Tuesday.
Yeah.
They like have Edge leave the match.
They're like, yeah, you can come back and get your big feud, but we like Edge better, so sorry. The Edge stuff too feels like they didn't want to really push him till after Mania, but because of the briefcase, they were kind of stuck and they had to do it before Mania. I think if they didn't have the briefcase, they just would have done it. They would have just not had him touch the title until after Mania and then fight Cena and win the belt, probably something like that. I think what really screwed them is he had to cash in. It was just bad timing because he's so over, but they didn't want to do it. So, all right, so it's a +8. So again, a lot happens. 1.25 for match grades. Card structure, a point for opening with the Cruiserweight cluster. It's a good choice to get the crowd going. A point for the fun Rumble number drawing segments. Those always hit. A point for Hunter at 1 and Ray at 2. They both kind of have a story that points them that way. So those both worked. And then having Hunter's enemies come out in a row was good booking as well. They all kind of hit one after the other to come out and face them off. So some decent card structure stuff there, but as we've been talking about the entire show so far, this was not a well-structured night.
Yeah, now let's get to the minuses. That'll work. Okay, there we go. We get the Cruiserweight Open ending as soon as it gets heating up. Need more time or just do Helms and Cash, like a, open challenge type situation. Poor Boogie, save him for TV, doesn't need to be on the pay-per-view. The roster is still too good to kind of waste time on this kind of stuff on the pay-per-view. We get the mid-card Rumble. Never should have happened. Unnecessary risk and decision to make. So we went -2. Cena getting the title back right after an underwhelming Rumble. Henry and Angle closing out because of Taker. Not worth it. Again, it's a weak choice to close the show. Lame use of Flair during a big push for him. He's still pretty hot from the fall.
Yeah. Well, he started the Reign of the Ram run here, right? With the TLC. He had the TLC. He had the stuff in the fall with Hunter, the TLC on Raw with Edge. He's over, and he doesn't do anything in this Rumble at all. It's like a complete waste. So, again, the priorities on this night are just off. They miss on so many little things that they had been building. It's like they just completely veer off course.
Yeah, and then the back end of the show, you get the Rumble and you get the 2 title matches to close us out. It's anticlimactic. It's out of whack. You've conditioned the fans to at least expect the Rumble to be the next to last match, if not the last match. And the title matches, you have 2 of them. They should have sandwiched at least, I think, the Royal Rumble. Do one ahead of time, and then you do the Rumble, and then you close out with the other one.
Yeah, Rumble and Edge Cena, those should be the only 2 options to close that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So it's a -4 for card structure. So again, it's not a well-built show overall. I don't know what the heck going on. I mean, do you think Angle Henry? It's going to be up there for worst on paper main events of a major show. We'll take the In Your Houses and stuff out of it. You're just talking the big 4 or 5. I mean, 94 has got some hot dogs in there, right? With Piper, Lawler, and Taker. But I don't know. Angle Henry is got to be. It would have been if Holly and Lesnar closed 04. I mean, that's what it's akin to, right? So it's yeah, it's got to be up there. I don't know. Viewers or listeners, let us know for not thinking of some big 4 on paper weak main events that. This is going to be up there for sure. I know there's some that underdeliver, but I'm just saying going in, we are this is the main event. That to me, got to be pretty high. All right, rewatchability. We gave a point for Trisha's ref gear, a point for Mickey's infectious personality. She's so good in the storyline. A point for JBL stooging around for Boogeyman. It was fun despite the pointless segment. A point for the Shelton Eminem Rumble drawing segment. It's really funny backstage. A point for the mini Rey Mysterio Psychosis throwback fight in the Rumble was nice. A point for Lashley deadlifting Sylvan out. A really cool moment. And then a point for Angle. He does work his ass off to bump and toss Henry around. He's working hurt, but he really is trying to make that match work. He is flying all over the place.
Yeah, because they do the angle on TV where Henry splashes through the table. Angle's on the table, and he does a splash off the apron or something like that. I think it does legit crack his ribs. Excuse me. So it's almost like that world title is cursed. Whoever has it is getting hurt. So Angle's working through it. Let's get to the minuses. And this is a big one. Vince creeping on the Devils and Melina during the Tumblr segments. It's way gross. We went -3, obviously. And it that alone almost makes the show unwatchable. You can't just put this on and let it play. You're going to have to fast forward through some uncomfortable
And I know
stuff.
a little bit of it's hindsight. If we did this 2 years, 3 years ago, but it's still even then would have been ugh, it's just gross knowing how lecherous he is anyway. But now knowing how he was really behaving, right, and the things he was doing to put women in a position of stuff like this is extra gross. Making these young girls fawn over him, and he's being all creepy and it's just completely unnecessary. And yeah, it's rough to watch.
Yeah. So again, -3 there. We get Ashley in ring. She's just not there yet for this key spot. She's put in a position where she's set up for failure. Again, not her fault. She almost breaks her neck on the finish as well. Ray's whole character revolving around Eddie. Every aspect, everything's about Eddie.
Oh, Eddie,
up to the sky, the Eddie chant.
Yeah. The wallet ones. I mean, the wallet. I was thinking when Eddie picked Flair's wallet. the year before.
That's a great spot.
When Ray picks number 1 or number 2, whatever he ends up getting, and he does the
Oh my
points,
gosh.
oh, you got me, Eddie. Oh, real. It's like, okay, like, come on.
Good grief. Yeah. We're not done yet. We've also got gross unprotected chair shots to Mark Henry.
Oh my God.
Credit for that. Undertaker shooting the fake lighting around the ring, destroy the ring. It's mid-90s. It's goofy again. There's, especially with how that match is going to turn out at No Way Out, you should have done something that was a real sports feel to build the anticipation and the tension between the two.
All right, so -3 for rewatchability. No, 0 for all-time matches. We didn't have any on either side, surprisingly enough. And that gives us a final war score of 11.25. So I would say pretty low for a Rumble overall. Slotting it in, it is tied with Survivor Series 18. So I guess I'll have to look at the best grade. So our best grade here would be the Rumble match, which is basically a 3.75. Survivor
Ronda
Series
Charlotte,
18.
Brock and Daniel Bryan.
And Rollins Nakamura. God, how did that show finish so low? three great matches. All right, so it's below that. So that puts it at 91 all time.
Okay. I feel like the Rumbles do not fare well for us so far. I would have expected them to be more.
02, 05, 16, 91 are all in the top 16.
Okay.
2000s in the top 22. Okay. But then we do have some at the bottom. Like, so this one is 91. We have Rumble 19 is at 93. Rumble 12 is at 106. Rumble 95 is at 109. So those are the worst Rumble and greatest Rumble if you count that. But so it's at 91 out of 124. And I don't think I'm very surprised, honestly. I knew it wasn't going to be that great. And I'll be honest. I think it's a little bit higher than I thought. Like atmosphere and commentary. I mean, atmosphere and moments really carried it. It finished a little bit higher than I would have anticipated.
I would have thought this would have ended up higher. Again, it's a show I always think I like, and then especially with this format going back and parsing through it, it's like, oh man, a lot of mistakes, a lot of unnecessary or poorly calculated risks. That's Vince's whole catchphrase or whatever is about. He likes to take calculated risks. Like those are just poorly calculated risks all night. Yeah. Bad decision making. Nothing made sense, like you said. We're going backwards with stuff. We're cutting momentum off for no reason.
Well, they were desperate to turn the ship around, and then they found a few things that worked, and now suddenly
we're back. Risks. Yeah,
and we're back to like everything just resets. It's just odd. I know Batista getting hurt didn't help either. Eddie dying didn't help, right? The original plans for the show. I would think. I'm guessing the original map to the show, from what they've said, was like Shawn, Eddie, Batista, Orton, and Triple H, I think with like the big three going into the show. So, I mean, it ends up being a great Mania, but it would have been very different.
Yeah.
All right, let's head over to our last show for tonight. That is No Way Out. February 19th, 2006, in the First Mariner Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. It's a SmackDown-only show. So Michael Cole and Taz are on commentary. The Boogeyman defeats Simon Dean on Heat. Just a squash, 2 minutes. And then we start with another Cruiserweight Open as Gregory Helms successfully defends his Cruiserweight title against against Brian Kendrick, Funaki, Kid Cash, Nunzio, Paul London, Psychosis, Scotty 2 Hotty, who's somehow still around, and Super Crazy. So pretty loaded match. I ended up going 3 1/4. It's fun. It's just under 10 minutes. They keep a much better pace than we saw at the Rumble. Helms retains, which is whatever. But at least there's a little bit more cruiser talent in here.
Yeah. I like this one more than the Rumble. I went 3.25 as well. Yeah, they got this thing humming. I hit a gear. The Rumble one didn't hit. And I think they're almost stumbling upon something where, like, what if every pay-per-view there was a Cruiserweight Open, but maybe cut the spots down to like 5, 5, maybe 6, maybe it's 4, something like that. But, and then you could have on TV like these eliminator matches. I thought, maybe that's something you could have done on SmackDown at the time, but either way, the match is really fun. 3.25 for both of us. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley.
We love you, Bobby.
Bobby. Taking on JBL. I went 3. Really solid match.
Do we love Bobby? I want you to do a number on them, baby. They say you're the best. I just want them to suffer. We love you, Bobby.
He's a strong black man. He's Bobby Lashley. But yeah, 3 for me. Don't love the outcome, but if he's gonna lose, have his first loss, at least it's to JBL, who's like established. And at least they do in a manner with like Finley out there too. They jazz it up a little bit. But a pretty good pay-per-view showing in what is like a top of the card style match.
Yeah, I went 2 3/4. Like, you can't have everyone have like endless undefeated streaks. So at some point it becomes untenable, right? It was always my big problem with Tatanka. He's undefeated for like almost 2 years and never gets a world title matches. So it doesn't make sense after a while, right? To have like these long undefeated streaks. To me, Goldberg is really the best example that they ever did with it because he had progression up the card, and that made sense. Not just spinning his wheels. So I think it's fine to have Lashley lose. I mean, again, JBL is just a weird. They're still in on him, and I know he's getting set up for a pretty big Mania match. But again, he's coming off that loss to Boogeyman, so it's just Rumble was just so weird with everything. They had like no forethought. All right, next match, another odd one. It's a non-title match, not for the tag team titles, even though our tag team champions M&M are in there, and they take on Matt Hardy and Tatanka. So very random match. I think Hardy just kind of said he was going to pick a random partner to go after M&M and ends up with Tatanka. They win. So I guess Hardy's back on track a little bit, but it's still such an odd use of him. Like, if you would have told him in August, well, yeah, you'll be fighting with Tatanka in February, it would have been like, what the hell are we doing? So the match is fine. Because M&M's good, Hardy's good. Tatanka's still fine too. So I went 3 stars on the match, but it's kind of a, what are we doing?
Tatanka's a little bit more than fine. I think he's sneakily, he might end up being the best worker of this match on this night. He brought it. I wasn't expecting this out of Tatanka in 2006, but he really brought it. I went 3 as well. Ends up being a pretty fine tag team match. Next up, we have what ends up kind of being the finals of our best of 7. The finals had happened on TV. Orton had subbed in for Booker T, who had like a groin and hamstring injury. Booker had broken down during that best of 7 series. So they do finals on TV. Orton's the proxy. He wins it for Booker, and now Booker's trying not to defend it, but he ends up having to defend it against Benoit. They try doing the injury angle where Booker is going to relinquish it, and he comes back to attack Benoit. So we get a final match out of it where Benoit picks up the win and gets the United States title. I went 3.5.
Yeah, I went 3.5 as well. That whole best of 7 really fell apart. They had good intentions, but the injuries to Booker really screwed it up. We started getting Chavo and Orton, whoever else thrown in there. So we get kind of, like you said, the real formal title change for Benoit to win the belt from Booker to close out the feud. So 3.5 for me. It's been a good feud. It's just been all over the place a little bit because of the injury. All right. Up next, we have a real debacle as Rey Mysterio puts his Royal Rumble win, his WrestleMania title shot on the line against Randy Orton. This is all during the awful, Eddie's in hell, where they're just going so hard on the Eddie stuff to really build heat for Orton. Orton gets the win. Rey's out of the match, and he's going to head to Mania now to take on Angle for the world title. So Rey's in tears. We'll cover in our next episode how he gets put back into that match. But I hate it. It's stupid. The match is fine, but I just can't get into it. So I went 2.5. Just because the storyline is so stupid and the booking is so stupid.
Yeah. So I was higher on this match because I really liked Orton's work in the match. I went 3.25. Again, I thought Orton was a fantastic heel in this match. So it's really on his back. But the decision making, the booking, it's all highly questionable. But we'll talk about that more later as we get to our main event. It is for the world title. It is our champion, Kurt Angle, taking on The Undertaker. I went 4.5. This is the famous Kurt Angle Undertaker match. Yep. It kind of has a legendary online reputation. And, talk to our buddy Aaron, like, this is probably the match where our expectations for Undertaker change, where he can have like a really, really high quality match with other guys. It's not just the typical smoke and mirrors. It's not, you need the casket match or whatever. This is a fantastic wrestling match. Felt like real sport. And it's great stuff.
Yeah, I went 4.5 as well. And yes, you're right. This is kind of where it turns for Undertaker. He has some good stuff in 05 with Orton, but this is really like, oh, wow, this guy can go. Like he's evolving in the ring. Angle, we know, had it in him leading up to it for sure. A little questionable, like, all right, Taker getting his world title match. I'm sure it'll be fine. It starts a little slow, but man, once it gets cooking, it really heats up and it holds up. If you haven't watched it in a while, like rewatch it, it holds up really well. And it's a strong close to the show. Angle's headed to Mania with the world title. Looks like he may fight Orton. We'll see. We'll see what Taker does at Mania. Like that's not really fully defined yet either. You kind of wonder where he's going to be at. But this match definitely holds up really well. And it's a sneaky in-ring show, Marcus. 5.25 for match grade. So, ended up being a pretty good in-ring card. All right, let's get to our build. Give a point for Finlay setting the tone on TV. He's been bullying for fights. So that kind of set things up. A point for Lashley owning JBL on TV after JBL had attacked him. And then a point for Taker returning and stalking Angle for the title. So not a lot going on build-wise here, but the stuff that they did build to was done well enough.
All right. For our misers, we got the Lazy Cruiserweight Open. Helmut just puts out the Open Challenge 2 days before. Booker and Benoit series gets derailed with the injuries. It's messy. You get other guys stepping in. Orton wins a series for Booker. Orton using Eddie against Ray. It's all-time bad stuff. Really reaching. So I went -3 for that. Ray and Orton stuff also diminishes. Ray, because he's only being pushed because of Eddie and his unfortunate passing, but it's very clear. And then Orton saying the terrible thing, so we went -3 once again for all that.
Yeah, I mean it seems heavy to go like -6, but the build to me is just awful. Again, there's two aspects of it. To what you said, it's like Orton uses Eddie against Ray. It's this all-time bad, saying awful things, and then also to me, the other side of it is how Ray is portrayed. Like, and they're building this guy for a big Mania moment, and this makes him look like a total bitch. So like. We kind of double down because to me, they're both all-time bad. The build is separate from how Ray is presented, but it all unfolds in this month leading up to the show. It's some of the worst stuff for like a guy that they're building to a major push, I think, that they've ever done. They would have been better off just not giving him this moment. Just let Orton fucking fight Angle at Mania. Like, if you really want to go this route with it, it's just terrible. It's awful. It doesn't get better.
Again, if you have Ray lose at Rumble, Orton wins the Rumble, and then you have Orton who's so cocky and he's like, all right, Ray, like, whatever, I'll put it up, but if you lose, you got to leave or whatever, right? Like, you got to retire, whatever. And then you can have Ray win.
Yeah, right. And then Orton, weasels his way back into the match for Mania, or just do Ray Angle if you want. I mean, Ray Orton should have been the match. Like, what they should have done, and I love that they gave Angle this run. Fine. I don't want to say we give up a Taker Angle. They really should have put the belt on the line at the Rumble. Orton screws Ray and wins the world title at the Rumble. And then Ray earns a title match at No Way Out and fights Orton and beats him. And then you can still do some of the Eddie stuff, but at least maybe it's not making Ray look like such a bitch the whole time. All right, commentary. Good job explaining the matches and the stories where we don't get video packages. And Cole and Taz are always so good at that. We did give 2 for their bickering increasing, but it doesn't derail the action. Again, they've mastered that as well. They can do the arguing without really taking away from the matches. A point for Cole ragging on Taz when he talks about the dojo and training. Taz says he's just an idiot who plays with Legos. A point for Taz's obsession with everything Melina does, the screaming. Says Carlos Cabrera is a freak like he is. A point for during Eminem's entrance. Melina's about to enter, and Taz says, speaking of openings, here's the best opening. I mean, the best entrance. A point for the good discussion about Benoit's neck injury, how Booker's targeting it. And then a point for the great job telling the story of the main event through the work and the style. So, I mean, Cole and Taz are just fantastic as a team. They're really locked in. At this point, I'd put them up there. I mean, I don't want to say I know it's blasphemous, maybe a slight notch below, but some of the best, right? Bobby and Gorilla and Jesse, JR and Heyman, and I think Cole and Taz are pretty high on that list.
This sneaky might be like their Tony and Jesse Fall Brawl 93.
Yeah.
Like,
or Tony Jesse Rumble 90.
They're just cracking up. The comments are not, he's a freak.
And then it's so comfortable with each other in the job that they just like nail. And there's actually, I know I've talked to this before, and I have it on tape somewhere. 24/7 at the time, the old On Demand aired this like Australia Super Show. That's right before, it's like 2 weeks before Mania. It's like March 2006, and they do commentary, and they are fucking fantastic. I used to watch that show over again just for the commentary. It's so good, and it's like 2 weeks before. It's between this show and Mania, and to me, it's really their peak because Taz, he's off to ECW by June or whatever. So we're really in the final months of these guys as a team, and then I believe they have their real falling out around this time too, right? Don't they get into a fight on because they have that radio show on CBS together? And something happens where they have a falling out. So they end up not working together on commentary and on the radio. They have something happens between the two of them. But that magical run they have from 02 to 06 is so good.
Yeah. All right. I almost forgot about our minuses. We really only got one here. Talking about Ray letting down the Guerreros. That's rough. And then just heavy-handed with the hatred of Orton. Yeah. So only -2 for commentary, which gives us a total of 6 for commentary.
Definitely helps carry the night here. All right, atmosphere, we give a point for the cool set. It was very different looking. It was like a giant lock for the No Way Out, so that was neat. The crowd is ready to the Cruiserweight match. A point for that. A point for a big pop. We didn't mention this, but Batista kind of does a special guest appearance with the State of the Union. I'm coming back. So a point for that. And then a point for the crowd just buzzing during the whole main event. They woke up after they kind of snoozed through some of the show here. I thought it was weird to have Batista come out and be like, I'm on my way back. He doesn't come back to August. So I don't know. I felt like a little early for the State of the Union from Batista.
Yeah. All right. Ready for our minuses?
Yep.
We get the crowd dead for the Tonka surprise. They don't care about Ray losing. There's no ovation. There's no pop. It's awkward silence. Not like the good kind of silence either.
No, they've killed it. They've killed the whole thing.
And this crowd is really quiet most of the night. A lot of entrances in big spots they're pretty muted for.
Yeah, it's Baltimore too. I would have expected a little bit better.
Yeah, they're usually pretty hot.
All right, so 1 point for atmosphere. Notable moments. We have Finley's pay-per-view debut. I guess. I mean, he was he was on Heat at the Rumble, right? Was he in the Rumble? I don't think he was. Or maybe he was.
Can't remember.
Let's see. No, he was on Heat. That's right. He fought Kendrick. So this is his first on screen during a pay-per-view. It's weird they didn't put him in the Rumble. I don't know. Point for Lashley's first loss. A point for Tatanka's first match since 1996 on pay-per-view. We said he was in the Rumble, but basically his first normal match. A point for Benoit winning the U.S. title. And then a point for the Real Sports presentation. You mentioned it a couple times here. Angle, the wrestling machine, just out there having a pure build match with Undertaker.
For our minds, we get JBL ending Lashley's streak. It feels a little bit like a weak choice, but again, he's a top guy, but just something kind of fell a little flat about it. We get Hardy being down bad, slumming it in the tag team ranks with Tatanka, non-title matches. They try to hype it up a little bit with, this puts them in line for a title shot. But again, and also Eminem is also losing too much as champions. This didn't need to be another loss for them. Orton beats Ray clean for the title shot after getting punked out all match. Again, he's doing really good heel work, but we went -2 overall. So, just everything about this whole program, it's nothing but bad stuff.
No, it's awful. So that's a wash for notable moments, 0. 5.25 for match grades, like we said. Card structure, we give a point for the Cruiserweight division becoming kind of sneaky stacked. It's a hot start with them all in there at once. A point for a really good use of Finley to weaken Lashley to kind of kick off their feud and give Lashley his first loss. Point for Batista's State of the Union. I mean, it was a good spot. I guess we're kind of halfway through his return, but it's an odd decision. Point for giving Booker and Benoit the proper blow off. after the series got messed up. And then a point for the big time main event feel for Taker Angle. Felt like a big time heavyweight fight.
For sure. For mine says we get Sky Too Hottie. Feels like a relic, still hanging on.
Yeah.
We get the tag team non-title match with the champs on pay-per-view. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. We get no women's match as we continue to take steps back as the division looks to potentially move forward. So that gives us a 2 it gives us a 2
for card structure. Rewatchability, give a point for Booker and Charmel bickering with Teddy. They're really coming into their own as an act. Of course, that'll develop even more. But them arguing with Teddy backstage, fun. Point for the bloody JBL, this crushing last year, the stiff clothesline from hell looked great. A point for Tatanka laying into strikes, music blaring, getting over. It's old school, badass.
Yeah.
He has a sneaky fun run here.
Yeah.
As like the old school stiff veteran. They kind of have Animal turn heel at this time as well. And he's okay, but this Tatanka run is actually, I think, underrated. He's kind of fun during the stretch. And then a point for the Angle, hooking the ankle lock off the apron into an angle slam on the table looked awesome during the main event. It was a great spot.
For our minuses, of course, we get the Benoit post-match celebration, making it all about Eddie up in heaven. We get Orton and Ray, Eddie stuff. It's all endless. Ray crying to Vicky and Chavo with like the locker room also looking on too in disappointment. It's a cringy segment. So -3 once again.
Yeah, so it's a 1 for rewatchability. That stuff just drags the show down so badly. All-time matches, we just had Angle Taker. Nothing on the bad side, so +1 for that. Coincidentally, gives us a final score of 11.25, Marcus. So the same.
What are the chances?
as the 06 Rumble. Back-to-back shows with the same score. Now, this one, though, was carried on in-ring and commentary, whereas the Rumble was carried on atmosphere and moments. So they both kind of got there through different paths, but they finished the same. This finishes ahead, though, because Taker Angle is the best match between the two shows. So No Way Out 06 is now our 91st best show, and Rumble 06 is our 92nd best show. Tied with Survivor Series 18, which is better than actually, let me just double check, I guess. So we have this both at 4.5, right? Survivor Series. No, this is ahead of it, actually. So because our highest there is 4.5, 4.25. So No Way Out is actually our 90th best show. Survivor Series 18 goes to 91, and then Rumble is at 92. So there you go. All right, why don't we do our bottom 10 since we're kind of down this end of the list here for tonight before we close out.
All right, let me scroll all the way to the bottom. Got a little ways to go. All right, go up.
So we've now done 125 shows, Marcus, which is kind of cool. 125 in our 68th episode. So made a lot of hay here. Our worst show of all time. It's an outlier, but it's deservedly so. Greatest Royal Rumble 2018. -17.25.
Followed by Crown Jewel 2018 with a -9.
Over the Limit 2011 at 123 with a -9.
The Wrestling Classic from 1985 with a -6.
Our 121st best show, Night of Champions 2011 at -3.
WrestleMania 11 with a -0.75.
Our worst WrestleMania on the list.
Yep.
Taboo Tuesday 2004 at 0.75 is number 119.
Armageddon 2004 with a 1.
Unforgiven 2004 at 1.25.
And Insurrection 2001 with a war of 2.
So there's our bottom 10. We'll hit our top 10 next time because I think we may have a new entrant. We'll see. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We will cover WrestleMania 22. We'll do our year-end awards, close out another season. And a month from today, Marcus will be kicking off a brand new season of War. Exciting as always to get there. Like I said earlier, check out everything we have to offer here at the North-South Connection. We appreciate the love. Share it, subscribe it, pass it around. Give us your feedback. We love it. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, podcast feeds, YouTube. Just do it all right now if you haven't yet. We love you. Love you, Bobby. Love you, Bobby. Live your life above replacement level. Talk to you in a couple weeks.